Hey everybody, welcome to the Art of Divination's weekly podcast, and a new face, but not really new because you've seen him on the daily podcast. So this is Ken, and he's been a co-host with me for a little bit because Robin is really busy right now. She's got a lot of things going on and just has to take a little step back. So it's going to be Ken and I running things, plus any guest speakers that we have, guests throughout the next coming weeks. So tonight we're going to be talking about ley lines, and this is something that I thought Ken found really interesting was ley lines.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. They're known to the Chinese as dragon lines.
Oh, we don't really need to get into it all yet.
Oh,
remember the first 15 minutes is talk, letting people log on.
Right.
Poor Ken, he's just so nervous and you actually seem more comfortable on the daily reading than this one.
Yeah.
I suppose you've done the daily reading many times now, and this is a whole new beast to tackle. But you'll be all right. You've got this. So I'm going to begin. We have these petitions in here, and we're inviting people to come down to the store and sign them. We've got many so far, and what they are for is to get the government to put more money in hiring and hiring staff, and just get a mental health program, a better mental health program up and running in Nova Scotia. We're sadly lacking on that. And in the news, unfortunately, we're seeing the fallout of that all over the place. Also, April 29th is the Earth Arc Prize Bingo, 1 to 4, Eureka Fire Hall. And, there's going to be a lunch there and a 50-50 draw and some beautiful prizes. So it will be a great afternoon for people, and it will also be going to a fantastic cause. And, yeah.
Jackie Watson says hi, Carrie, Lee, and Ken.
Hey, Mom.
Hey.
And Janice Wade.
Yeah.
Hey, Janice, how are you? Justin doesn't have his glasses on, so people might go miss tonight. But he is going to, of course, write down everybody's numbers. Oh, crap, we didn't pick a number. Ashley, you pick a number and write it down, and it'll be a surprise even to me. So whoever's closest without going over, because I don't want to say it out for everybody to hear, we'll find out at the end of the night the number Ashley picked. And but between 1 and 50, is it, Ashley? And whoever's closest, I guess just whoever's closest will get the free reading, because last week we had nobody close. So, and of course, there's a mental health peer-to-peer support group that meets every Wednesday night at the McLean and Poulain Pharmacy, 6 to 8 p.m., a wonderful resource. And we're really getting close on the likes and shares. For 400 is our goal to draw that beautiful gift bag. Paul, why don't you pass me that? I'm just going to show people some of the things that are in that gift bag and pique interest.
Ashley Stewart says hi.
Ashley Stewart says hi. So we threw in a bunch of incense, some scented candles. There's a bunch of Avon products, just little inspiration candles. There's soap, a little necklace, some solid perfume, a bunch of Avon stuff. I love Avon. Some soap from the store, and some Avon jewels, some essential oil. We put in, I can't read that, so it's really small. And we put in, it's a poster, a picture of a poster I put up on the Facebook page one day. I really, really love this. So threw this into the gift bag as well. So it's a wonderful prize. And once we get to 400 likes, we are going to have the contest, and we'll do that live. So that is, it's a nice size prize. It's good and heavy too. But that's the prize that is going to be drawn. So just invite your friends to like the page through Facebook. My kids all did that, and it brought a lot of results. So I guess that's everything for the starting announcements. Oh, our workshop.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to make the Tree of Life medallion. The spots are filling up quickly for that. It is prepaid and pre-registered. The cutoff is April 24th. And everybody's going to leave with their own beautiful medallion and the knowledge to make it. And like I said, they do make wonderful gifts. So, well, we got a comment?
Michelle O'Brien says, what a great gift bag. I already liked and shared. New location looks great.
Thank you, Michelle. We love the new location. We really do. And thank you for liking and sharing. Everyone counts. Everyone helps, because that's what this is all about. Oh, yeah, just bringing awareness and letting everybody know. Plus, there's so many wonderful consignment lines of local artists. So it's my baby. I think it's a great store. And I just thank you all for your support and sharing. And now, you're going to tell us a little bit of info about the The ley lines.
Yeah.
A lot of history and a lot of fact and fantasy surrounding them, isn't there?
Mhm.
Isn't there?
Oh yeah. Let's see. The fella who's not really discovered them, rediscovered them, I suppose would be the best
Maybe make them
term.
famous.
Yeah. Archaeologist, I think, named Alfred Watkins. He's the guy who coined the term ley lines, but I think he coined it, I think here it said like 1921. He sort of brought theories of them out. But by 1929, he sort of, I don't know if he got tired of referring to them as that, but he started calling them like old straight tracks or archaic tracks. Let's see. Yeah, he wrote a book called The Old Straight Track, and he talked about how it was just a connection of, or at the time he thought they were hypothetical alignments of monoliths and or not monoliths, megaliths and monuments.
So what exactly is a ley line? What is his definition of a ley line?
His definition, let's see here.
Yeah, that's
All right.
definition of a ley line.
Ah, right there. Let's see. That's just about him discarding the name and referring to them as archaic tracks. I know it was in here somewhere. I was reading it earlier. Well, there are a few different developed theories on the purposes of them, many of which offer valid potential. Let's see.
Can I just 1 second?
Yep.
You already said they're hypothetical alignments of a number of geographical interests as ancient monuments and megaliths. So you already answered my question.
Oh.
So that's pretty cool. But this it also says the explanation by no means completes the modern definition of ley lines.
Where is it? Yeah, it says here we cannot say, for example, that all alignments of stones are ley lines, however old they are. Nor does it follow that all ancient sites were aligned deliberately, even those that appear to have been. And he's got a sort of rule of thumb for what might give away a ley line, or ley markers, he calls them, which is like mounds, long barrows, cairns, standing stones, mark stones, circles and henges, and crossroads, and like encampments on hills and forts and stuff like that. It also says here that any true Watkinsian ley requires it to have a start or finish point in the shape of a hill.
Cool.
Helen Noggle says good evening.
Hi, Helen. How are you? It's nice to see you join us.
There's another fella, Paul. I'm not really good with French. Devereaux. He did a lot of mapping and field work, and he believed that all henges are likely to indicate the presence of a ley line, I should say. And it goes into further detail, stating like we can, let's see, we can gauge the strength of a ley line according to the length, actually, or the actual deviation, or even the number of ley markers it has. And I think they got one in here, the St. Michael's ley they talk about, and it crosses from Great Yarmouth all the way to essentially the bottom of England, and it intersects different. It intersects the Arbor Low line. It intersects Stonehenge and a couple other. Glastonbury. It intersects right through there.
Oh, that's cool. Now, other cultures. Don't forget, guys, you can write in with your questions, and we'll answer them to the best of our ability. But I do believe other cultures have some sort of ley line too.
Yeah, I know the Aborigines in Australia, they refer to them as like song paths, and the Irish refer to them as fairy trails. The Chinese refer to them as dragon paths, and that sort of funnels into like how they arrange things with feng shui and stuff.
So it's all about geometry and placement.
And there's even where was it here? I was reading it earlier. Where was it? I'm gonna find it sooner or later. Let's see. Yeah, apparently, let's see. Yeah, they're, and when it comes to ley lines, I guess there really isn't a whole lot of evidence of, oops, sorry.
People can't hear you when you're covering your mouth.
There isn't a whole lot of evidence of them necessarily being for religious worship or intent in necessarily the monolith when it comes to like the different kind of cemeteries or the henges or anything like that. They're just sort of like
The power lines.
yeah, they're kind of like I think that would be a good way, like a power line, like a transformer or a power line kind of thing. Let's see what else we got here. Oh yeah, here it is, the feng shui thing I was referencing earlier. Yeah, they were used or help used in the determining the flow of the lung mei, or what they call the dragon currents. So every building and stone and planted tree in that area was placed into the landscape to not necessarily amplify but flow with the dragon current. The main passive forces were also believed to be determined by roots of the sun, moon, and 5 major planets. And let's see, we know that the Earth is encompassed within a magnetic field. The strong and I think there might be this. Oh no, I'm reading that wrong. The strength and direction of the magnetic currents vary according to the position of the sun, moon, and closer planets. And I think say for instance, St. Michael's Lake in England, that is perfectly aligned with the sun on the 8th of May.
His sacred, like his saint day.
Yeah, it's the 8th of May when it's perfectly aligned with the sun.
There's a number of them that perfectly align. I think Stonehenge lines with a specific day too.
Let's see. There's something that I thought was kind of cool. Yeah, the St. Michael's one does pass through several sites. What was it?
It's alright, just breathe.
One thing I noticed from reading all this is that leys aren't just necessarily about like they interlock a lot with not only astronomy but geometry and let's see. Yeah, it passes right through Glastonbury, Avebury, and Salisbury. But there was something cool that I read earlier. Yeah. Well, we'll just just jump right into the previous examples of. It is arguable that as many of the sites are aligned astronomically and as geometry is a natural product of astronomy, the effect may be a product of automatic or accidental geometry within the layout of certain sites. This does not explain the geometry between sites, which certainly involves surveying techniques, which in turn requires deliberate and.
Jackie Watson says that the Bermuda Triangle is also one of these lines.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kinds of natural phenomenon areas that are part of these lines.
Yeah, let's see, there's something else.
It's really hard doing your first podcast. You kind of get distracted.
Let's see. Yeah, the Aborigines of Australia tell of a passage, or
That's what it looks like, passage.
which they call the dream time, when the creative gods traverse the country and reshape the land to conform with important paths called Turungas. I think that's what that is.
That's how I'd say it.
All right. They say at certain times of the year, these Turungas are revitalized by energies flowing through them, fertilizing the adjacent countryside. They also say that these lines can be used to receive messages over great distances.
So every culture basically has their beliefs surrounding the ley lines.
Jackie Watson also says that Ken, you are doing a great job.
At least someone thinks so.
I think you're doing a great job.
Yeah, that is kind of cool how it's funny how, like, the Irish, the Aborigines, they all have different reasons as why they were there. Like with the Chinese, it was dragons. With the Aborigines, it was gods who created the currents.
Janice A. Quinn says he's doing really well.
See, there's 3 people, including me.
I mean,
I'm probably calling some here.
I have to tell you, it's awfully hard being on this side of the camera.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, they all have like different almost origin stories, but they all follow the same sort of flow of magnetic energy across the landscape.
Oh, every culture, every area, they all recognize these places of power.
Let's see.
Even the church is built over the sacred sites of like the prehistoric pagans and stuff.
Well, yeah, that gets right into here where the section's referring to the Templars and the, let's see, that the Cathars in the Middle Ages and the Templars used geometric principles, and the Holy Church of Rome did as well, and they sort of built and constructed a lot of their big structures of worship and whatnot over areas that had a really strong magnetic or kinetic kind of energy. Let's see. Apparently, though, they say here that with that combined with observation of other different structures and whatnot, that they can even say like prehistoric kind of humans to have recognized the power of ley lines as well. Like, so even like your Neanderthals or Homo erectus or whatever apparently understood the energetic qualities of the ley lines. Oh, here's another name they had, and I think this would have came along with the more Christianized, or at least when Caesar was kicking about. But they were also nicknamed Roman roads, I guess, too.
I think it's because the Romans didn't deviate from their path.
No. Well, they would have, because they did a lot of conquesting. So they probably would have not only put their culture onto a lot of things, but they would have absorbed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So anything in the region, especially the further away from Rome, the less influence it would have had. But they would have been able to sort of adopt it, I think would be a good word. And they did do apparently here, the Romans record discovering what they called straight tracks in almost every country they essentially conquered. Let's see.
Just gonna bring that heater closer.
Where was it here?
Oh, we have a question?
Steve Martin says, "Hi, Ken."
Hey, Steve. Let's see what else I got here. Apparently, well, let's see. Yeah, the Leylines would have been, I guess they had some recordings or at least some sort of acknowledgement in the Neolithic period, which would have been about 5,000 to 3,000 BC. So that would have been way before.
Steve Martin says, "Hey, bud, how are you?"
I'm doing good, Steve. How are you?
Angela Scott said hi, Ken and Carrie.
Hey, how are you, Angela? It's nice to see you joining us.
Hi, Mama.
I got to do that earlier.
Steve Martin says, "Hi, Carrie."
Hi, how are you? It's nice for you to join us. I just get a kick out of it because it's so funny. Both of our moms are supporting us.
Mm.
Except your case is more acceptable because I'm like a grown up, like in my 40s, and my mommy's still there, and I'm glad.
I'm sorry, my mom is so good. You'll always be a kid to your parents' mom, no matter how old you are.
Exactly. And your mommies will always support you.
And Steve Martin replies with, "I'm well, thank you."
You know, you can know your information, you can study it for years and years and years, but then when you get placed in front of this camera for an hour to talk, you just forget everything. I still have everything written down because I'd forget my name in front of the camera.
I'm done it.
Yeah, and I'm just filling in time.
Steve Martin says, "I feel so important. I know a movie star."
Hi, are you a movie star?
I don't know.
I think he's blushing.
He's Pitcher County famous.
People notice me in the grocery store, but it doesn't get me anywhere, so I don't know.
No swag yet.
No.
I don't know, there's people in England and somewhere in South America that
Brazil.
can watch this.
Yeah, we have viewers all over the world. And we're pretty proud of that.
Rick joined.
Oh, hey Rick, how are you?
Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, the Earth is encompassed within a magnetic field. The strength and direction of the magnetic currents vary according to the sun and moon, planets, and whatnot. So that in turn affects the magnetic field. But it's possible that this field may have been detected and mapped out in the past. New version?
Yeah, that's how I'd say it.
Okay. It reminds us that the Earth's natural magnetism was believed to have been used to refertilize the soil in the same way as the Aborigines did with their Turungas or Dreamlines. Apparently also that when it comes to ley lines, water itself is pretty sensitive to the electromagnetic fields, and it says here that the fields can even change or influence the chemistry. The chemistry of the water may be altered as well. So horticulturalists have discovered that plants placed within a magnetic field grow more than 6 times their normal, or 6 times faster than in normal conditions.
So I wonder if I go throw some magnetic hematite in my garden, it would make my plants grow faster.
Maybe. Let's try it.
I think I will.
I have like 6 pieces at home.
Let's see. So the normal conditions, we are able to show today that the strength and direction of the Earth's magnetic currents vary according to the positions of the sun, moon, and other planets.
It's really, really hard to give people actual truth on ley lines because there's so many theories behind it. You know, it's in so much popular culture, even old culture. There's so many legends behind the Bermuda Triangle, like Tom Brown did a lot. Is that his name? Robert Brown. Dan Brown. The Da Vinci Code books, like they're based on a lot of things through ley lines with the church in Scotland and stuff like that, and how they were following the ley lines to find out where his, in theory in the book, was where the chalice of Christ was buried. You know what I mean? Like there's just so much information on ley lines that it's hard to find specific factual truths. Do you know what I mean? Because you can't say what exactly a ley line is because every culture, every person has their own belief on it.
And some believe the fairies made them, some believe dragons did. You know, it's just, and then even that you get like some people who avoid them, or you get some people who actually use them in the realm of farming, or you know. And
I'm even thinking like Diana Gabaldon books, like the Outlander series. That is based on the premise of henges built on leys where on certain days they're activated and people can travel time. Like there's just so many theories that it's hard to get factual information to deliver on the podcast. And we don't want to go into all kinds of realm and speculation. We want to give as knowledgeable a truth as we can give.
Yeah, the buddy who actually came up with the term ley lines, the Alfred Watkins fellow, apparently ley is Saxon for fire.
So the fire lines. That's pretty cool. And an apt description.
We got some information on, I suppose, people who research them, but even then it's almost mere speculation.
Yeah, there's so many theories about it all.
But I do think the growing of plants in the water is a pretty, I mean, there are a lot of factors that go into the growing of plants, and the electromagnetic frequencies can affect plants in a number of ways.
It affects us. We all carry that electromagnetic field around us, or aura.
That's why some people are better with plants than others, say, the way their electromagnetic field affects or blends with the plants. There was another thing I wanted to go over.
I think we should talk about this a little bit if you want.
But the
there are also spirit and death roads, funerary paths, and although there's little direct evidence for religious worship in the modern sense of the word at megalithic sites, there is certain evidence that funerary rites were involved at several important locations, some of which may be classed as secondary use. The burial of valuable goods alongside funerary remains, placing remains inside stone chambers. The Egyptians did that in the pyramids. And underground in alignment with funerary structures or their inhabitants with the rising sun. They all attest to the fact that funerary landmarkers were not placed according to purely scientific criteria, but they may have been added to pre-existing ley lines. There's a number of rituals that have been associated with these paths. traditionally known as death roads or Dude Wegen or Geisterwege. I think that's German. And the fact that spirit paths are traditionally straight and seem to include the same markers as ley lines increases the argument that some of the leys having once served for this function. So they can also be considered spirit lines. Like I said, there's so many interpretations of ley lines. They're invisible and are viewed as tracks or paths for the movement of spirits, which may explain why markers are not often visible from one location to another. And Watkins mentions the English funerary tradition of stopping at crossroads and saying a prayer because the crossroad would intersect that straight path. And it could also be why crossroads have like more darker connotation, you know, like devil meet you at the crossroads and stuff like that to tempt you.
Supernatural,
Yeah.
demons at the crossroads.
But that kind of stuff has been around a long time about crossroads. Crossroads are also a symbolism of choice. You know what I mean? And but so these people would say a prayer, and it's a custom still practiced now. Other customs involved walking around or bumping churches and stones en route. Possessors are not supposed to be carried to a corpse twice over the same bridge, and custom forbade singing or music on a bridge. I don't know much behind those traditions. Another interesting funerary custom, still practiced today, was for mourners to carry a pebble when they pass certain spots, and they throw their pebble into a pile of the previous mourner's pebbles. Like these would end up being like cairns, rock formations. Ferry paths have folklore associated with them too, and there's numerous stories of houses being built over ferry lines and then being destroyed or cursed. Stones, crosses, crossroads, bridges, and churches are all the same points on the Watkins list of landmarkers, although it's probable that many of the alignments that involve churches and cemeteries, or which pass areas with traditional funerary rites and death rituals, have been mistakenly classified as ley lines, as funerary paths are not always straight. So it's kind of contradicting. One's saying that they are, and the funerary paths are saying that they're not always straight as funerary paths. I just thought that was worth mentioning, how there's just so much.
Well, it is. There's it's one of those things that there's so many different interpretations on.
Exactly.
So you just sort of, with it, I think you just have to take the one that you think is right.
Yep, makes the most sense to you. You'll survive, just breathe.
We already did the feng shui portion of it, I think. Here they mention a bit of the astronomical part of it, and they say that it took us a long time, well, at least modern cultures, to realize that astronomy was way more involved in ley lines than we had initially thought. But what's even more surprising is that there's evidence to show that we knew it, but somewhere along the line, as a culture, species, we sort of forget it. It just sort of, I don't know, could have been, one could say, even programmed out, if you want to get into that. But even still, like even in the ancient groups and whatnot, there was apparently still traditional sort of resistance from what would have been modern science at that point. But we now sort of, a lot of scientists do accept, in the modern sort of scheme of things, that the ley lines do contribute a lot, or not, I shouldn't say contribute, but they are affected by astronomy and the position of planets and the rotations and stuff like that. What else? And that a lot of the bigger constructions, the megaliths and stuff, were designed to accurately identify certain celestial objects and measure the actual cycles.
Can you give us an example?
Not off the top of my head.
I thought maybe they had done one right down there.
I think we got one coming up. They mentioned the Arbor Low, Avebury, and Stonehenge as examples. I'm not exactly sure because it doesn't get into much detail, but they do. They mention that they're lay markers and intersections of those type of lines that sort of map out objects. They go back and they talk about the St. Michael's Lay because
That's probably the most famous one.
And it does every 8th of May. It does line up perfectly with the sun.
So I wonder if that became his feast day because of that, or if they built it on that spot because it lit up. You know what I mean? Kind of chicken and egg.
Which came first, St. Michael or the lay kind of thing?
Well, the lay came first, but recognition of it is what I'm saying. Recognition and understanding that this day it does this. And now I have lovely hot water and cold hot chocolate. I said I put my hot water in front of the heater, or my water, so now it's hot, but my hot chocolate got cold.
You get hot chocolate in front of the heater.
There we go.
Okay, your coffee has that.
I think they do mention like the first astronomically significant ley line to pass through Stonehenge was first identified by Norman Lockyer and later extended to 22 miles in length. The ley follows the path of the midsummer sunrise. Another.
So would the Stonehenge be considered part of the ley line, or like where part of it goes through? Like...
Yeah. From what I'm getting here, it's kind of like not really a beginning or end point for ley line, but sort of like where a few interject, kind of like the ley lines would be like power cables, and it would be kind of like a transformer.
Okay.
Or
Because I remember watching Outlander and some freaky stuff started happening around Stonehenge, so I just tried to zone out for a second. I just completely missed what you said. Was or not.
yeah, I think. Let's see. Actually, they were saying here that apparently the alignments at Stonehenge therefore appear to offer a fusion of funerary, astronomical, and geometric practices, simultaneously connecting three of the most significant locations in southern England. That would be, they just mentioned Glastonbury, Stonehenge, and Avebury and Silbury, which all align to create a perfect right-angled triangle accurate to within 1/1000th part.
That's impressive.
And then they even get a little, I think that would be too blurry to show on
We
the
can give it a
camera.
try.
A little bit back. A little bit high. A little more. A bit there.
So they all line up to make a perfect right angle. I think there's something in here about sacred geometry too. So it's saying the megalithic tradition in the British Isles can be traced back at least 3000 BC, if not earlier.
Steve Martin says impressive towards it, making the.
Yeah, it is to within 1/1000. The tradition seems to have been based on a very sophisticated philosophy of sacred science, such as was taught centuries later by Pythagorean school. As Professor Alexander Thom observes in his book of megalithic sites in Britain, it is remarkable that 1,000 years before the earliest mathematicians of classical Greece People in these islands not only had a practical knowledge of geometry and were capable of setting out elaborate geometrical designs, but also could set out ellipses based on Pythagorean triangles.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that was long before the Pythagorean schools in Greece, sort of.
Exactly. And Sir Norman Lockyer, Royal Astronomer, was the first respectable person. Oh, I think you've already said that. The alignment. Okay. Geometric alignment between Stonehenge, Groverley Castle, and Old Sarum, the site where the original Salisbury Cathedral was built. The three form an equilateral triangle with sides 6 miles long, and the old Stonehenge Old Sarum line continuing another 6 miles to the site of the present Salisbury Cathedral and beyond.
Jackie Watson says that she loves this show and what she learns from it.
Thank you, Mom.
We love you, Nanny.
And there's older traditions, it's saying?
Yeah, the Aboriginal.
Oh, the Incas.
The what?
Do you want to do that or do you want me to do it?
You can do it if you want.
So the Incas used spirit lines or checks with the Inca temple of the sun in Crusoe as their hub. The Jesuit father Bernabe Cobo referred to these checks as in his History of the New World. These lines on which wakas were placed and were venerated by the local people. Checks were described as sacred pathways. The old Indian word check or this phonetically sound the same, means boundary or line.
Arlene Baker says that she agrees with Jackie because you learn something new every week.
Thank you, Arlene. We learn a lot trying to get it ready for you. Or even when we have guests, we still learn so much from them. Cobo describes these lines, how these lines are not the same as those at Nazca, being only apparent in the alignment of the wakas. These wakas were most often in forms of stones, springs, or often terminating near the summits of holy mountains. Documentary records made by the Spanish record that QHAPAQ Hacha ceremonies, or human sacrifice, usually children, took place at wakas as an annual event and also at times of disaster. In the 17th century, the Roman Catholic Church ordered that the holy shrines along the routes be destroyed, and that's not a bad thing if they're sacrificing children. As in Europe, many ancient holy places were built over with churches. Elsewhere in America, fragments of ancient tracts can still be found, such as the Mayan Sach, of which 16 have so far been found originating in Cobo, Mexico. The following is a description of one found in Yucatan. A great causeway, 32 feet wide, elevated 2 to 8 feet above the ground, constructed of blocks of stone. It ran as far as we could follow, it straight as an arrow, and almost flat as a rule. The guide told us that it extended 50 miles direct to Chichen Itza and started from the other chief town of Coba, and it extended at the Great Mound 2 kilometers to the north of No-Ku, or the main temple in the Great Ruined Building. So it's really interesting that we talk, and so much fiction and theory and research has been done on the ones like in England and Ireland and stuff like that. But these lines are also found in South America and North America. And I don't think a lot of people really pay attention to that fact because our civilizations, well, in North America anyway, are so new that there's still much left for us to discover. Other ancient tracks have been found in New Mexico, and these roads are barely visible at ground level and radiate from Chaco Canyon. As in Bolivia, some of these paths run parallel and others lead to nowhere. One of the major sites connected by the Anasazi roads in Pueblo Alto. So random chance. It has been suggested that there are enough prehistoric sites to play a statistical dot-to-dot, and that a survey dot-to-dot with a survey of English pubs and telephone boxes will yield the same amount of statistical probability as determined by ley hunters. So what they're saying is there's a crap ton of these ley lines. crap ton of them. They're all over the place, and some of them are lesser known. Is it 1:45?
Yep.
Well, I guess it's time for us to wrap things up.
When you get to say the number, can I say because I'm really excited about this?
Yeah. I think that's pretty much all the highlighted areas that we wanted to cover in this, isn't it, don't you?
I think so.
So I guess it's time for us to see who won the reading. Ashley chose the number tonight, and she wants to let everybody know her number and who won.
Okay, so the number I guessed is 19, and the person who won it, who has been trying to for weeks, I might add, is Nanny Jackie, because it feels really called by her actual name. So, Nanny Jackie, you'll get the free reading. Yay! Woo!
So yay, Mom, you finally won. Oh, crap. Apparently the cards have a lot to tell you.
Yay.
I haven't read my mom's cards in like
20 years.
20 years. She was one of the first people I ever practiced on. And when I was reading her cards, she got some information she didn't actually want, and she never asked me to read her cards again and never encouraged me to read her cards again. So, Mom, do you want your reading?
She's not coming.
So we have the Two of Swords. We have the Eight of Swords. We have the Chariot. And we have the Fool. So the Two of Swords indicates a stalemate situation. And you know what that is as well as I do. I don't know if you want me to announce it, but it's a two-letter word. It is definitely a stalemate situation, and you're just stuck. So remember, I think it's November. It's not far away.
She said, thank you, I have been trying to make it good.
The Eight of Swords indicates a feeling of tied down, heaviness, oppression. So what I'm going to say is just don't let things bring you down, right? You get to choose how you react. I know some things in life are trials to deal with and difficult to bear, but you get to choose how you react to the situation, and you don't have to let people run space in your head for free, right? You just can kick them out. They don't own you. They don't own your thoughts. You get to choose your thoughts. So try not to let things get you down. The Chariot indicates a journey, and you're definitely on a journey, and sometimes the road is rocky and rough. Sometimes you get delays and breakdowns and stuff like that, but you can always enjoy the view as you're going along the route. Remember, it's not just the path that's straight in front of you. It's everything that's around you, and if the path is a little bit difficult to deal with, then look at the scenery. Take time to enjoy the view. And the Fool indicates it's kind of a feeling of going around with your head in the clouds. You know, if you're looking for something specific, just remember to look down. Often it's right near you what you're looking for. It doesn't have to be far away. It doesn't have to be unreachable or unattainable. Oftentimes you're looking in the wrong direction, and it's right there, right close at hand. So those are what your reading is saying for tonight. And with that, I know a lot of people often feel tied down and oppression. A lot of people are having trouble coping, expressing themselves. And with that, I'm going to talk a minute about your own personal vibration or the energy field that's around you, because I think it kind of falls into ley lines. Mm-hmm. Just like ley lines are areas of power, so are our bodies. You know, one thing the Bible got right is that our bodies are a temple. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And there's so much in that. And when I'm talking about raising your vibration, I'm talking about raising your energy level. And there's all kinds of things in there. But mostly what it is, it's a choice. You choose to look at things differently. You choose to make the best of situations. You choose to be kind and giving instead of afraid and letting fear rule you.
Steve Martin says that he would love to have a reading. And Jackie Watson says, thank you. Happy as a lark.
Excellent. I know you've really been working on your vibration, Mom, and picking your energy levels up. And it shows because there's all kinds of things, wonderful things happening in your life. But and this is a kind of a big thing for everybody, you know. And as we individually, someone said something last night. I went to Therapeutic Touch, and they told me that our body emits these like photons, right? These electrical impulses and stuff like that. Sometimes when we meet people, our photons register with each other. It's like, oh, I know you. I'm familiar with your energy wave. Other times when we meet people, our photons are like cats with the fur up on their back, right? And your photons are like, I don't like your photons. You can just stay and go to another room. And we've all had those instances, right? But that just shows that's all part of raising your vibration, right? We tend to surround ourselves by like-minded people, by people that we're comfortable with, our energy is comfortable with, right? And if everybody consciously works on making their energy vibrate at a higher level and bringing beautiful things in our life, just imagine what we can do to the magnetic electrical ley lines. Or, like, it's all got to work together. Energy is energy. You know what I mean? And it recognizes each other, even if it doesn't recognize each other in a good way. It all recognizes each other. So maybe, you know, these ley lines have a part to do with us vibrating at certain levels. It makes plants grow better. Why can't it make us grow better? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying like crazy stuff, but just why can't it make us grow to be better people? So if we just all concentrate on raising our energy level and vibrating higher, it's going to have a huge effect. And, you know, you just think like, well, I'll just do it for me. I'll just do it to make my life happier. And then you talk to other people and they're like, wow, I want what they have. And then you tell them and they start learning how to make their vibration better. Just imagine what the world could be. And I know I really talk a lot about it. And it's something I would like to do a podcast on some night. But I just think it's a ripple that can become a wave of change. So, you know, there's so many ways to raise your vibration. And I've talked about them because this is something that's big to me. Counting your blessings, simple pleasures, acts of kindness, or even simply, I'm not going to let that get me down today. I'm going to choose to be happy because happiness is a choice. It's all on perspective, how we choose to look at it. And life can be wonderful and beautiful. So now that I'm done my little rant, I just want to thank everybody for joining us. I also want to take this time because we've been through a big move and there's constantly everything's changing, new people coming in and adding their perspective to it. But I just want to thank everybody who has followed along with each and every one of these podcasts because it's something we truly enjoy. We learn, you learn, and it's a great way of connecting and sharing information. We always welcome your ideas, and we enjoy your questions and comments. And if there's anything specific you'd like to see podcasts on, share with us because we'll do the best we can to find the information, to find a speaker, you know, to bring that to you. And but just thanks for coming with us on this journey so far. You know, this move has been an excellent thing, and it's getting a lot more attention to the store and the community nights, and our community is just growing and growing and growing every single day. But I just wanted to take a second and thank everybody who's been with us on this journey from the very beginning. You know, we love you all. We send you love and light every day. We wish you great happiness and joy. And just thank you for being with us. I think that's important. You know, right now I'm practicing gratitude. And that's one thing I'm grateful for. I'm also grateful for the new viewers that join us and the new people that keep coming into my life. So that is all for me, and I'm just going to shut up now. Do you get anything you want to add, Ken?
Nothing that comes to mind right now. No.
Ooh, that's too hot. I can't win.
I'm sort of drawing a blank.
All right, well, what?
Steve Martin says, thank you so much and very nice to meet you, Carrie.
You too. Come drop in the store anytime. We also do lots of things, live things. We have community nights, we have workshops, and we're always, you know, there's chairs here just to encourage people to sit down and talk and share ideas and thoughts with us. Sorry, I'm coughing now. But I'm going to say goodbye. Join us all next week, and we'll see you tomorrow for the daily reading. But love and light to everybody, and count your blessings, and practice gratitude. Gratitude is another way. Sometimes you just get so filled with happiness, you just got to have something to thank. Right now, I choose to thank everybody. who's been making this such a great journey. So love and light to everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow. If you have any ideas for future shows, let us know, because we'll do our best to make it happen. Bye. Have a good night.